Hi, welcome back to the Free Black Women's Library YouTube channel. Thanks so much for clicking on the video. Thanks for liking the video, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to the antics that happen at the Free Black Women's Library all day long, 24/7. Booze, blase, blase, blah. This is a Rambly reaction to Season 1, Episode 6 of the new show that's currently streaming on Starz Network entitled Run the World. And it's about 4 black women in their 30s living up in Harlem, living their best lives, right? So this is a new show streaming on Starz, and we are almost done with the first season. Still haven't heard any word about them being picked up for a Season 2. Fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. But let's get into this episode specifically. So the name of the episode is My Therapist Says, and not much really happens in terms of plot development. So I'm not going to do a scene-by-scene breakdown as I normally would do, because there really is nothing that has shifted in terms of the story. What does happen is that we do get to see two specific I was about to say literary device, but that's probably not the right term because this isn't a book. Nerd. But we do get to see two devices used in terms of like how the story is told. One of them is through time jumps, which I'm a big fan of time jumps in films and TV shows, in books. And another one is through the use of exposition. Like there's a lot of exposition that is unfolded within these therapy sessions, right? So we don't really learn anything new about any of the girls, but we do learn a little bit more about their characters. So there's little character development, and then there's also a little bit of layers of the onion peeled back in terms of like the dynamic of their relationships, right? So that was interesting. But I was a little bit bored because I was like, okay, we kind of know all these things already. It was nice to see the girls in therapy. I'm always pro therapy. I believe everybody should be in therapy. It was nice to see Rosie O'Donnell. She was a big success of a stand-up comic back in the day. A little bit of queer representation that I was looking for in terms of like queer woman characters. So that was cool, even though I think Sandy is gender fluid or bisexual. I think she drops hints every now and then, so you know, and that kind of makes sense considering her character. But either way, all the girls are seeing the same therapist, which I thought was weird. So I don't know if they're trying to say like, oh, these girls are so deeply connected that they go to the same person for sage advice and understanding, or if it's just so hard to find a good therapist in New York City that when you find one, you just hold on to them no matter who's saying them. But I know for sure that friends don't usually share therapists. Like, friends don't really do that. Like when you find a good therapist, it's yeah. So anywho, so what do we get to find out? We get to find out that Ella's book was a complete disappointment to her fans, right? Because apparently she had this column, and she had over 100,000 followers on Twitter, and she was very much a single gal living in New York City, living free. And when she ended up falling for Anderson, the tone of how she thought about women and relationships shifted and changed. Like Sandy said, she was stigmatized. So she kind of lost her core audience. Like she had a fan base and she lost her core audience. I thought the name of her book was weird, Love in All Shades. I don't know, I thought that was weird, but either way, she's the first story, and she definitely gives me Carrie from Sex and the City vibes. And in this episode, all of them, it felt very much like a Sex and the City, I don't want to say reboot, but very inspired by the characters that were on that. Because just like Ella, Carrie was a writer who came out with a book, and got stigmatized. So yeah, big Anderson. I get why she says that now. Remember, she said that in episode 1. Either way, her book was a total flop. And what made it even worse is that Anderson left her. So not only did he, probably not on purpose, influence her writing style, but he ended up breaking her heart anyway. So it's like, damn, what's the lesson there, girl? Like, never let a man change you. Don't, make sure you don't fall for the dick. Like, whatever. Either way, it pretty much ruined her career. Well, I don't want to say ruined her career, but she got bad reviews, and she was kind of like canceled because the feminists were like, because remember she was talking about like cooking in the kitchen and your underwear and an apron. So the girls, the singles, kind of like sexy girls who are out living their best lives and not being attached to no man, probably weren't feeling that like submissive kind of pick-me-sha vibe that she might have been putting out. Either way, I think her response to it is a little bit dramatic, but maybe that's because I'm a lot older. But she talks about her life being ruined and all these things, and thankfully her therapist is like, girl, you're fine. Like, you're 32, you're beautiful, you're talented, you wrote 1 book, it didn't do well, but you still have a job and you still have a chance to get your voice out there through your work. Write another book, start another column. Like, come on, get it together. So she gets her together, and that's what therapists are for. Sorry for the noise. That's New York City. So yeah, so we get to see that whole story with Ella. And the time jumps are cute. My favorite time jump was when they went back to high school, because they had a whole new cast of actresses playing the girls, which I thought was really cute. They didn't really look like the girls, but they felt like the girls, and that's really all that matters. Just like Denzel doesn't look like Malcolm X, but he felt like Malcolm X. You feel me? So, getting into Sandy. So, Sandy is kind of got on my nerves a little bit this episode, because I feel like she is projecting her anger about Miss Baptiste towards her girlfriends, and once again, this bomb-ass therapist, you see how I'm sweating, y'all? It's hot in New York. This bomb therapist gathered her together and was like, you claim to be this like empowered feminist woman who always tells the truth and is not afraid of confrontation, calls people on their bullshit. You call yourself the mirror. I'm gonna be a mirror to you. Like, what's going on with Ella and Renee and Whitney? That's not what's going on with you. You're upset about this Baptiste chick, and you know what? Fuck that chick. She's whack. And whatever it is you have with Matthew, it's fine. Like, you are in that position. You didn't take advantage of him. Your relationship is a real relationship, and it means a lot to you. So, once again, the therapist gathered Sandy together. And as far as her having an issue with, she tried to act like she had an issue with the girls, but she didn't. Yeah, she got gathered. And then, so next up we have Renee, and I guess Sandy is Miranda. For those of you who watch Sex and the City, Miranda was very much like a practical, feminist, empowered, tell it like it is type of person. She didn't back down from a challenge. She was very politicized, very radical. So yeah, Sandy's our Miranda in this story. And then Renee is obviously Samantha, right? Samantha's very sexy, very much a boss, very much like, I don't care about kids. I have no interest in having children. I wasn't meant to be a mother. I was meant to be rich and powerful and beautiful and sexy and just like fuck who I want and do what I want and wear whatever the fuck I want. So, we had a couple of scenes back to back of Renee strutting in all these different outfits. Like, so now she didn't just want that split because she wanted to do the wobble. She wanted that split in her bridesmaid's dress because she likes showing off her body. She likes attention. She likes being the center of attention. She likes being the focus. She likes being sexy. She likes being the star. And I must say that I did like all of the outfits. They're not anything that I would wear for like day-to-day wear. Like I wouldn't, that outfit that she wore to the church was incredible, but I would not have worn it to church. But you know what? I didn't like the dress that she wore to the book party. That was a bit much, but they were trying to make a point. So anyway, so Renee is supposed to be like afraid of her feelings. Like she doesn't want her feelings to take over. She wants to be like this very stoic like person. She doesn't want to come off vulnerable or needy, but she's going through a divorce, and that's actually very a heartbreaking thing. Like they talk about, I don't know if y'all saw Dirty John, but there's she's on Netflix, and one of the things said in season 2 is going through divorce is almost like going through a war, right? Losing somebody, the ending of a relationship can be very traumatizing because you've invested so much of yourself into that. So she's trying to act like, oh, I'm not bothered by this divorce, but she's actually very hurt and she's going through a hard time. And in the end, the therapist is like, first of all, you need to come more than a couple times a month, and you need to start forming sentences with the words I feel, you know, instead of I think or I see or I believe. Talk about your feelings. You're a human being. Let them out. So Renee says okay, and she commits to doing that. So once again, this incredible therapist tells her exactly what she needs to hear to get herself together. Like, this therapist is a jewel. So the fact that all 4 of them are seeing her is starting to make sense, right? Because she's like, everything she's saying to them is the perfect thing to say. Like, hello. Okay, so Renee learns that lesson, and then we have Whitney. Last but not least, Miss Whitney. And Miss Whitney is definitely giving us Charlotte vibes. Like, I don't know why this episode really gave me hardcore Sex and the City vibes, even though I know that show's part of its inspiration, but I didn't feel them as much as I felt them here in this specific one. Either way, Charlotte is our goody-goody. Very straight-laced, very J. Crew, very all hairs are in place, not too much makeup, very tasteful jewelry, and on her way to being a society wife. Charlotte runs an art gallery, so she's a little bit quirky because that's not a traditional job, whereas Whitney works in business, banking, marketing, whatever. But Whitney is Miss Perfect, right? Whitney wants to be liked. Whitney wants to come off as somebody who really cares about people and cares about the world. She's giving me, I want to be good vibes. There's an astrological sign that I'm thinking of when I think about that, but I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want to be shady. But yeah, Whitney's giving me these type of vibes of like, I always want to do the right thing. I always want to do the best thing. And that might be because of how she was raised. You know, definitely her mom came off as somebody who kind of created like a certain type of pressure around that, doing the right thing, growing up in an upper class family, you know. And the high school scene, she says something in the high school scene where she says that she wore what she wore so that she wouldn't get noticed by the boys. So the boys would notice her friends more than her, you know. And there's a whole moment where colorism comes up because she, you know, Renee and Ella are like, oh, the boys always notice you because you're tall and you're light skinned and you have long hair, right? Ella's got no hair, she's short, not dark skinned, but brown, you know. And I was like, oh, they're talking about colorism in this show. Okay, we're getting a little deep. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go there. You know, but they didn't really do more than that. But it was a nice little, you know, it was a nice little realistic moment. between the girls, and it shows that all is not always hunky-dory between them. Sometimes there's tension, but they've been friends for 30 years, so they work it out. So I like that. I like that the relationship dynamic was shown to not be like perfect, and they always get each other, and they always understand each other, and they always support each other, and they always like each other. Like, that's not, you know. So in this parallel universe, we are getting we're not getting COVID, and we're not getting like violence and misogynoir, but we are getting an examination of relationship dynamics between Black women. And thankful to therapy, they work it out. Okay. I'm not mad at that. So that was cool. That was pretty much it. We didn't see much of the boys. We saw a little bit of Anderson with his cute self. I still don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I mean, the fact that he was gone for 2 years when Ella needed him most is kind of whack, but I don't know. It was a good opportunity. He could have emailed, he could have texted, he could have written snail mail. And I wonder if we'll be seeing more of Rosie O'Donnell, if this was a one-time thing for her. But hooray for therapy, and hooray for the final scene where they came back together and had a drink. And hooray for the beautiful outfits that were worn. Once again, shout out to the costume department. Shout out to the Andre Leon Talley and the Pat Field sighting. Shout out to Jaquetta. You worked your little role, honey. I loved your afro. And yeah, looking forward to more. And come on, season 2. Bring it, season 2. Season 2 for Run the World. All right, y'all. So subscribe to my Patreon if you would like to support the Free Black Women's Library. And subscribe to my channel. Help me get to 1,000. Come on, y'all. Help me out. All right, thanks. That's it. Have a good day, y'all. Bye.